This is my hobby, the greatest. Hello everyone, Hobbyist here. We are back at it again with our character exploration guide. Now previously we have concluded the city expansion characters. And I want to give another shout out to the Talisman subreddit. They've been really helping me as far as guiding my content moving forward. So the next set of characters that I'm going to be covering are the Woodland Expansion characters. Now, honestly, just as a quick disclaimer before we get to the first character, I honestly do feel that at least 4 out of the 5 of these characters are pretty solid when it comes to just fitting the themes of this expansion and just being able to cross over into other areas. So let's go ahead and get into that first character. So the first character that I'm going to be covering is a fierce warrior of the forest who seeks to emulate the power and strength of the totem spirits which guide and protect him. Indeed, I am in reference to the Totem Warrior. So let's go ahead and get into the Totem Warrior. Now, the Totem Warrior has a strength of 3 and a craft of 3, so a pretty balanced character. And as we can see here, we've got ourselves a brand new logo with our brand new expansion. So that tree logo is the insignia of the Woodlands expansion, so any parts of this board, path cards, the destiny cards, the woodland cards, adventure cards, spell cards, and the alternate endings. If any of that doesn't seem interesting to you and maybe it's all stuck or confusing, then just keep an eye out for that tree logo and it'll just make it easier for you in separating the woodlands from the rest of your Talisman adventures. So moving forward, the Totem Warrior has a fate of 2, a life of 4, is a neutral character, and starts in the forest. Now, I have not previously mentioned this in other videos in the past, but I want to kind of share this as it more so ties into the themes of the Woodland expansion itself. The fact that the Totem Warrior only has 2 fate, if you remember us talking about fate alignments when it comes to being able to choose and that sort of thing in our Woodlands video, he's only got 2 fate. This is good primarily because you can choose to be either lightbound, darkbound, or you could be unbound because it is an even number of fate. So that is definitely something to keep in mind because, as I mentioned in that video, fate alignment is just as important as whatever your base stats are when it comes to playing with the Woodland expansion. So let's go ahead and get into the Totem Warrior as far as the rest of his ability goes. He has 4 abilities, so let's go ahead and start with his first one here. So, first ability says you begin the game with 1 axe from the purchase deck. So, this is the axe. As we can see, it's a little bit better than the sword, honestly, because it has strength, because it is a weapon, but you can also build a raft when you're in the woods or the forest. You remember back in our base game tutorial where we talked about the various means of crossing over from the outer region to the middle region. You can use the axe in the woods or the forest to build yourself a raft that turn and then use the raft to cross. It is definitely just an easier means if you are able to hold on to this weapon if you're trying to cross straight inside. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and move forward a little bit with Totem Warrior. And these next 3 abilities more so tie into his specific tokens. Because if you remember back in that video, I mentioned that the Woodland characters are the only characters in Talisman that have their own tokens that do something completely different, and it's only exclusive to them. So, just to give you some clarity on these tokens, when you defeat an enemy in battle or psychic combat, put 1 totem spirit token on your character card. You cannot have more than 3 totem spirit tokens on your character card. So it essentially just means that you can't earn more than 3 at a time. So this is a Totem Spirit token right here. So just to give you an idea, just say we won. There it is on our card. And like it said, we can have up to 3 sitting on the card if we're able to kill enough enemies and that sort of thing. But here's why you want to start collecting Totem Spirit tokens with these next 2 abilities, and how it more so ties into the themes of the Woodlands, and it makes things easier for you. So the second ability in part of the Totem Spirits is after dice are rolled in battle or psychic combat, you may discard 1 Totem Spirit token from your character card to add 1 to your attack score. So, essentially, if you do this right, you manage to get all 3. If you're really struggling in battle and you need that extra boost to your attack score, then you could spend up to, if not all 3 of your Totem Spirits tokens in order to add 3 to your attack score. This can make a difference inside of the various bosses, whether you're facing King Oberon, Queen Mab, or Queen Titania inside of the Meeting with Destiny space, because your path card is always going to tell you which one it is that you may or may not be facing towards the end. So if you're facing a boss, the Totem Warrior is definitely a character that you want in order to be able to boost that. And it's able to help you in other areas too, whether you're battling other characters or just any other enemy types in general when it comes to the Totem Warrior. So let's go ahead and move on to this last character ability, as far as explaining what it is that all the Totem Spirit tokens can do. At the start of your turn, you may discard 1 Totem Spirit token from your character card, either heal 1 life, replenish 1 fate, or gain a spell if your craft allows. Now, remember, the Totem Warrior only has 3 craft to begin with, so he can only carry 1 spell. If you remember from our base game tutorial talk where we talked about the ratio of craft to spells. So how does this all apply towards the Totem Warrior? Well, if there are things such as cards that make you lose fate, or if you're trying to particularly give yourself a lot of longevity, well then these Totem Spirit tokens are able to do that for you. Because of the fact that, just trying to think on just this scale, just the Woodlands expansion, if you're having a tough time inside the Woodlands, you definitely want that longevity. And you definitely want to be finding as many enemies as you can to replenish those Spirit Totem tokens. And is honestly, from my personal experience when it comes to playing as the Totem Warrior, he was the first character from the Woodlands that I played as that I was able to win with, because I was able to give myself spells. If I built my craft high enough, because I've been killing a lot of strength-based stuff, I've been gaining these Totem Spirit tokens, then I can add those Totem Spirit tokens to my attack score, even though I have a lower craft per se, and able to take on spirits too, which in turn I can use those to not only make those trophies give me more craft, then I could also be cycling spells with the spirit tokens as well. Because if I get my craft high enough, then I can be able to give myself 3 spells. And then in turn those spells can help me defeat more enemies, which can help me replenish tokens. So you're cycling through these tokens over and over and over again. To where the Totem Spirits don't necessarily make you a strength-based character, that battle is the only way to go, where you need specific weapons. You are able to be a battle-driven character and a psychic combat-driven character at the exact same time. It honestly is a very phenomenal thing to have if you are the Totem Warrior. And overall, I definitely think that the Totem Warrior covers a lot more weaknesses in comparison to just specializing in one area or the other. Because he's balanced in this way, I think it definitely helps him out a lot. But just consider this. The fact that he has strength of 3 and a craft of 3. Gotta be careful of where you're running into, big picture-wise. Dragon expansion, the dungeon expansion, and the Harbinger expansion are gonna have a lot harder things for you to take on. If you go there too early, then you'll be facing enemies that are too difficult, and therefore you can't start accumulating these totem spirit tokens, in which not only can they play a role in making battles and psychic combat easier for you, but also in fulfilling the requirements of the path cards. There are path cards that are going to say that you need X amount of fate. You could probably use these spirit tokens because there's a path that says you have to get rid of 3 spells in order to gain a destiny. There's a lot of different uses for the Totem Warrior, to where it plays a role inside of the Woodlands expansion, as I mentioned before, but it's enough versatility to where you realize that, okay, what other ways can I experiment with the Totem Warrior? What other combinations or health can I get back? Or what other things can I do to more so benefit myself? Because as long as you're killing enemies, you're in a very good spot with the Totem Warrior. But other than that, this encompasses the Totem Warrior and the first character of the Woodland expansion, and I will see you guys in the next one.